Well, exist very many different definitions about the regenerative medicine. The most broader definition include any kind of treatment that can stimulate the regeneration of tissues or organs. I think this is not what we really mean about regenerative medicine, because this can include even administration of drugs or cytokines, which is not exactly the meaning. In our imagination, regenerative medicine rely with the reconstruction of tissue, basically, because no organs were rebuilt at all now, and with starting from cells, either in vitro or in vivo. Then, of course, we can include in the field also the gene therapy approach, which in addition have to modify the genetic profile of the cells in order to correct some genetic defect. Yes, I work in stem cell regenerative medicine field from, I think, very many years, because I started in '88, and at that time, the main regenerative medicine protocol was the one used for burn patient on the skin. And this was the beginning of my interest in the field, because it was life-saving technology, so very impressive. But with a lot of problems, complications, difficulties related to the patient condition. And then later on we developed our own field of application with the many other epithelia reconstruction applied at clinical level. But I think one of the most famous, most known, is the one for the reconstruction of the ocular surface, because it can solve problem of blindness, because it's even very easy to be understood by the people. It's very clear what is a white eye that cannot see and what is a transparent eye, able to see. And because this kind of treatment was proposed by my group in '97, and then was reproduced by many groups all over the world. So it's trustable, because it was not a research obtained in one single laboratory, but it's spread. And because now we have something like 14 years follow-up on over almost 300 patients, close to 300 patients. So we can really lead it. It is a new medical practice. It's no more an experimental treatment. There are many concerns on regenerative medicine. I cannot find a way to start, because, well, we can say first there is a concern from a regulatory point of view, because new law are now in force in Europe, and try to give some rules to this field. I agree with the idea of giving some rules, because there were bad accidents and bad experiments on humans that cannot be accepted. It's really unethical. The people can become a mouse of a laboratory where you can test your theory, because even science can make mistakes. So this is unacceptable. The problem is that at European level was used a kind of regulation that was planned at the beginning, was thought for chemical compound, for classical medicinal product. So, and this is our problem now, because some kind of rules that were defined for a drug which is a chemical compound cannot be applied to cells and tissue cultured. Because you can define very well the composition of a chemical compound. You can produce in a very reproducible way with exactly the same amount of contaminants or any kind of components, and can be sterilized. The metabolism can control within the body. You cannot do like that with a tissue. Cultured tissue with the autologous cells of the patient, because each patient is different from the other. So we have different expression of protein, different expression of level of hormones or whatever, because the cells are living, so cannot be sterilized, cannot be always identical. The same cells of the same patient is changing depending on the timing culture, of the level of differentiation that you want to push more or less depending on the kind of clinical application you are doing. And life is dynamic, life is change, is adaptation to the environment, cannot be fixed like a chemical compound. This is our problem now. So I believe that a strong interaction between regulatory bodies and probably some biologists and people working, biotechnologists working in the field should be provided, because there should be a sort of adaptation of the rules to the specific topic, which is different from classical chemical compound. Otherwise, this field, which is promising, because I have seen such, really good results, is going to die because it's becoming too expensive. The second point is the cost. Of course, following the rules, if the rules will be adapted and whatever, following the rules, and because this technology now is still probably at early stage from an industrial point of view, the treatment is very expensive. And so this put the government in the position of not accepting very well the idea of paying such amount of money. It's even true that the entire development of this kind of drugs is usually done not by the government, not by the national health system or by insurances, because it's paid with money for research. And usually, if the treatment is really effective, it is not a cost, because the patient having a pathology is expensive. So leaving a patient with a pathology doesn't mean not having to pay anything, because if you are ill, sick, if you have a problem, you go to the hospital, you go to the medical doctor, you need some medication, symptomatic medication for all your life most of the time. And in case of blindness or big invalidity, you need people helping you. So, it's better to invest in some treatment that improve the quality of life and is one-shot cost, but if it works, solve definitely the problem. So I think is not a real cost from one side. From the other side, we have, of course, to improve the production of this kind of therapy with probably some less expensive methods, more industrial-like. This is my opinion.